What's going on, guys? Welcome back to No Reserves Radio. I am your host, Rehn. With me, as always, Blast from the Past. We've got Angelo and Austin, and for some reason it's showing me that your guys' mics are muted. So I'm a little confused right now. Did you do that on purpose?
Yes, I put push
Okay.
to mute.
Oh, okay. So that's a blast from the past. I don't know why I just fell into the
Why'd you
old
just put
intro.
us on blast like that, man? You know, maybe we wanted to mute our mics to make sure you had the clearest, most open pathway to do an intro, and you just
No.
screwed it up.
So the reason why I was like, wait a minute, is because y'all muted and you've never done that. Like I watched the mic icons to make sure I'm not over talking you guys. You've never done that, and so the recording came on, and I was like, "Are they not ready? Like, are we not doing this yet?" And so I didn't know if I needed to stop. But anyway,
when you get a new system, brand new things.
Yeah, there's new things that we're messing with. So audio quality should be a little better, at least a little bit this week. We'll find out. We're gonna do some fine tuning over the next few weeks to really dial it in. But I think that overall, just from what's coming through my headphones, it sounds a lot better. Hopefully it comes across that way when this episode releases. Y'all will hear a better quality. If you do, you should, leave a 4-star, 5-star rating for us, because sound quality is what we're here for, right? And we improved it, so leave us that review. We are continuing our little grind of grading the positions this week. We are going to do the small forwards. We did power forwards last week and centers the week before. This one was interesting, guys, because I thought power forward or small forward was going to be a lot more balanced, I guess, but it really is a top heavy position. And I think that's because in my head, we were getting to a point, one, we had a few players miss too much time with injuries at the small position. But two, you have those mainstays, LeBron James, Paul George, Kevin Durant, who we've always expected to be in that 3 slot, who have played either the 2 or the 4, at least for this season. So yeah, this one I think is going to be really interesting. I thought this one was going to be a lot easier than the 5 and the 4, but it is what it is. Do you guys want to go ahead? Austin said he had the question of the day. We'll go ahead and get that out of the way before we start talking basketball, even though your question is basketball.
Yeah, it'll be a nice thing, and you actually brought up injuries. So who is one player, if you could redo their career without injuries, who would it be?
One player without injuries? Okay, so the homer pick is Danny Granger. I think that even if you weren't a Pacers fan, you had to like Granger's game. And I think as basketball fans, having his career not necessarily cut short, but cut to a less than stellar career, that kind of sucks. Besides that, I mean, it's tough because players like Yao Ming could have been generational if not for the back and knee issues.
This is true.
I am really surprised you haven't named one really obvious choice.
I know. He forgot it, like Sabonis.
Like glaringly obvious, like the first person you should have thought of.
Glaringly obvious.
Glaringly obvious.
Our entire fan base just thought of as soon as I said the question.
Maybe redefines LeBron's career. Defiant. It's Derrick Rose. It's Derrick Rose. It's Derrick Rose. It's Derrick Rose.
That's
and Wemby.
So I think the reason why I don't think Derrick Rose is because Derrick Rose is still a quality NBA player.
Listen,
wasn't Granger quality?
Yeah. Granger was a quality NBA. But listen, the way that I have seen people talk about old Derrick Rose, they talk about him almost like he's the boogeyman. Like they were scared of Derrick Rose. Like his explosiveness, his ability to get to the rim and attack you, his combination of strength and speed. No, it to me it's Derrick Rose. That's just me.
I mean, that's all of those like early 2010s guards, like the John Wall. That's another one. Rondo, even. Like, there were a lot of guards with leg injuries. It was kind of a weird time. Weird time. What is Derrick Rose? Both of your answers? Like, you don't have like a second answer?
I'm gonna bring up the Yao Ming as well. So you kind of
Yeah.
hit that, and then Angelo hit Derrick Rose.
Okay. Angelo, do you have another player?
Not off the top of my head. No.
Okay, well, before we get into the episode, there's really not a lot of NBA news this week. There's, trade rumors, because there always is. Particularly right now, there's rumors with Pascal Siakam. There's another one that I can't think of off the top of my head. I'm sure it'll come to me as we're.
I know Ayton keeps getting thrown around.
Yeah,
Every other article I see, is this the year Ayton leaves Phoenix?
Yeah. I don't know. There's really nothing to talk about. So instead of that, before we get in, let's do some predictions for next season. So with the new rule regarding flopping in the NBA, flopping is going to get you a technical this year, which is, I think, a great idea. With that being said, going into 2023, 2024, which players do you think are going to lead the league in flopping technicals? And I'm just going to go ahead and Kyle Lowry. I think that's an obvious one. I think his teammate over there, Jimmy Butler, is another one. Chris Paul doesn't flop as much now.
LeBron.
I don't think LeBron flops as much now. It feels like he's kind of. Oh, Joel Embiid.
And
That's
even if he did, like, how are you really gonna call flopping on LeBron James that often?
If you're gonna set a precedent, which it seems like Silver wants to, you would be calling.
What about Marcus Smart?
Games.
Yeah,
Smart was one I was thinking too.
Off chance book.
Does he flop that much? I don't stay up late enough to catch a lot of Suns games. I think it's going to be Embiid. I think Embiid is going to lead it.
Embiid's a really good candidate. I can't even.
Yeah.
I don't know.
James Harden. Did we mention James Harden?
We didn't mention James Harden. I think that's a pretty good one. That's the other player that has trade rumors. That's the one I couldn't think of.
Could Draymond Green maybe?
No. He gets too many texts as it is.
Okay. Hey, I mean, that's fair.
As we're getting into this list, I think the shocking thing for me was how top-loaded it was. I think I already said that. I feel like our top four are going to be the same. I think we're going to have them in a different order. And I want to preface this, listeners at home. One of two things is going to happen here. So either this will be the episode where Angelo, for the first time in his life, cares about PER and acts like it's important. And I'm just going to tell you, he never cares about advanced statistics, but he's either going to do that or he's going to try to subvert expectations. And you'll understand what I mean when we get to pick number 2 on our lists, which way he went. That's all I'm going to say. So you can go ahead and make a mental note in your listener's handbook that either this will, and he has his mic muted right now, I think. He could currently be furiously typing notes to try to change it to where he's going to try to justify something without using PER, because Angelo does not care about advanced statistics, but it's the only way he can argue the number 1 that he's going to put at number 1.
This is not the only way. I'm gonna give you a spoiler alert. I had this ready before this before we even talked about the top 10 small forwards coming up.
So he's saying that. So again, he might also be subverting expectations. I'm saying this as someone who's known Angelo for a very long time.
Did Rehn just say? I'm just gonna spoil. Rehn just said he's either gonna pick Jimmy Butler or he's not gonna pick Jimmy Butler.
No.
That's what you just said, right?
No. What I'm saying is you're going to make it about the fact that you didn't pick Jimmy Butler, or you're going to make it about Jimmy Butler by saying, well, his PER, and you're going to try to use advanced statistics. But listentons, go back and listen to our episodes about advanced statistics and the discussions we have about them and how Angelo says they don't matter. So just keep that in mind as we get through this list. That all being said, I'm very interested to see who you guys have in those bottom 5 spots, just because, like I said, this was a weird one, because when Austin and I were talking about our lists last night, and because we were doing some final touches, and we were both disgusted at who we had at number 5, and I've made a change to mine. I moved someone from number 10 to number 5 because I'm a Karen and I did my own research, and I found something that justified putting someone up there that I initially didn't have there, and that's my own fault because I was just looking at statistics instead of getting into a deep dive. But that's a lot of words. Let's get into it. Who wants to kick us off this week at number 10?
I think I should go last.
It's the same format.
Okay. The problem is I was asking for that because I didn't have my list pulled up yet. But I can do it. Just give me 2 seconds.
This guy's so unprepared, Austin. Like,
No.
come on. Come on.
I have like 6 billion tabs open right now.
I'm sure you have 6 billion tabs open to tell us why, player X deserves to be in the top 10 and why player Y doesn't. But, you have to keep it organized. You got to keep. You don't have your list off the top of your head. You can't be like, oh, it's
no. I have my list.
Mm-hmm.
No, I have my list up. I don't have okay. So number 10, and this was my previous number 9, was Michael Porter Jr. Just based on his PER, it wasn't a great season. It was just above average, but in overall box score, he had a solid season and he really did shine in the playoffs. I think that he wasn't the key piece I thought he was going to be in the finals, because I do remember at some point, I think I said he was potentially going to be an X factor up there with Aaron Gordon. But he kind of did slow down. He is coming off repeated injuries. But he shot 50% from the field. He shot 80% from the line and 40% from 3. Playing with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, that's really all you want, is someone that can go out and catch the ball and shoot it. And that's what he did, and he did it very well. His defensive win share was a little bit to be desired, or left a little bit to be desired. But offensively, great player. Just didn't do much to get him into those other 9 spots for me.
That's fair.
That's a pretty good one.
So I'm kind of scared for my list because I totally feel like I forgot someone if MPJ is your number 10.
No, so I think when I have my short list,
I think our lists are going to be more interesting than Rehn thinks they're going to be.
I think so too.
Well, so looking at the lists, there's a lot of players that could be 5 through 20. I was pretty topsy-turvy on putting those guys in because it could have gone either way. There's a lot of guys that could have been in the top 5 or top 10. That's what I was saying by this is a very volatile list. The top 5 or top 4 for sure were set in stone for me, but outside of that, it was very last minute changes, and there's a lot of guys that are near misses for me, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, same.
All right. So my number 10, I put RJ Barrett.
He was probably my number 11.
So I put him based on the fact, his PER was less than stellar. It was 12.9, not great. But, he got you rounded up 20 points a game. That's a pretty solid contribution to his team. Go ahead.
I mean, it's tough with Barrett, and that's what I went back and forth on. The PER was what kept him off my list, because when I first looked at that box score and saw the 20 points a game, he was on my initial list, and I took him off because it was a very inefficient 20 points. But at the same time, can you really argue with 20 points a game?
Right.
Yeah.
Not really. So like,
Doesn't matter if you go 10 for 50, you got 20 points.
right.
So that's why I went RJ. I mean, I hate this small forward list in general. I think they're
Yeah, I
all
was.
gross. Like my number 5 feels kind of like a sin to put up there, but it's whatever.
You
So,
and me. I have a feeling we're all gonna have the same 5.
I don't think so.
I don't think we will at all.
I don't think we're gonna
5
have
or
many
I think it's 5
similarities.
or 6 for me. But anyway, are you ready for me?
Go ahead.
Because I went with a little bit of a change up for number 10 because I looked at Porter Jr. I agree with Porter Jr. RJ Barrett, I agree with RJ Barrett because, like Ren said, 20 points a game is hard to argue. I put Buddy Hield here.
I debated it.
He was my 11.
He is one of the best spot up shooters in the game. He averaged 17, 5, 3 with around this. These are all rounded up or rounded down. I think I've said this before in previous episodes, but with a 15 PER, he was outside of Miles Turner, one of the primary beneficiaries of Tyrese Halliburton.
Absolutely.
And no, I think he was deserving. That's
So,
just me.
I'm
also a sucker for shooters, so.
And that's what I was gonna say, because I had Buddy Buckets up there for a bit, but then it's just he's undersized for me, and while I'm not gonna say it because it would be a home, but he is billed as probably the best current spot up shooter as of last season. Just in terms of efficiency, not like actual shooting talent, just efficiency. But there's a lot to be desired on the defensive side of the ball, and that's kind of hypocritical to say because I did have MPJ at number 10, but Buddy would have been probably in my top 5 as a shooting guard, but he did play the small forward a lot this year. And also, I forgot to highlight this. We do highlight this at the beginning of every one of these episodes. We have a criteria for what makes it and what doesn't. So if there's a player that you think we missed, they probably didn't play enough games, or the various websites we use to decide their positions based on what positions they played the most minutes at said they didn't play that position. So wait for another episode and see if they're on that list. For example, Brandon Ingram will not be on today's episode. Chris Middleton will not be on today's episode, and Scotty Barnes won't be on today's episode. Those are the main 3 that I can think of off the top of my head. Sorry, are you done with Buddy?
Yes, I'm done. You can start with the next one.
Okay. So at number 9, I went with Franz Wagner. It basically averaged 19, 4, and 4, shooting 48% or 49% from the field, 36% from 3, 84% from the line. He had a 16 PER, 5.4 win share. Look, this Orlando Magic team has turned around very, very, very quickly. From being one of the laughingstocks of basketball to actually fielding a competent team. And I think that the gravity that Paulo is pulling is opening up players like Franz to really show off their talents, because I don't think Franz Wagner, no disrespect meant to him, he's not a great player, but Jordan was surrounded by players that weren't great players, but because of his gravity, and LeBron and Giannis, right? I'm not saying Paulo is on that level. I'm just saying that Franz is benefiting greatly from the fact that Paulo has become such a dangerous player already in his career. Again, a little bit to be desired on the defensive side of the ball, but you can't argue with 19 points. So that's where I've got Franz.
I missed this assignment entirely. Anyways, at number 9, I have OG Anunoby.
Okay.
So, and I don't know why I don't have his stats pulled up.
Oh my God, you guys!
Don't worry. I have like his base stats. I mean, he has 16.8,
Okay, that's
5
fair.
rebounds, 2 assists, 14.6 PER. I don't know. I just like OG. He's a very solid defensive player.
That too.
And that's the real reason I put him above RJ, even though RJ had more points and I guess technically more contribution to his team, but on the offensive side. But I mean, he averaged almost 2 steals a game. So I liked OG. I think he's disrespected in some areas.
I think he's very underrated. I think he's probably one of the most underrated players in the game. But
Angelo, who you got at 9?
Mine is actually RJ Barrett.
Okay.
So
Like that
you
better.
kind of went through all the reasons why you'd pick RJ Barrett and all the reasons why he should be lower off the list. But I agree with you, Ryan. At the end of the day, you can't argue with 20 points a game. He was one of the main bucket getters for the Knicks, which was Barrett, Randall, and oh my God, why am I drawing a blank on the point guard? Brunson. Thank you. So
foreshadowing for the point guard episode.
yes. Well, I mean, Randall was on the power forward or centers list. I know he's on one of them. Whichever one he played more. Power forward,
He
probably.
was on the 4 list.
Yeah. So, which is
was last
surprising to think that the Knicks could or will have 3 people, in the top 10. But, I mean, I guess that's to be expected when they made a top 5 seed. And that's one of the reasons why they had 3 people who really stepped up. But RJ Barrett definitely needs to work on like his consistency as far as the quality of shots, how often they go in, and there's still a few things to be had for his game, but he's still young. He needs to develop. Hopefully, he gets there. Next.
Okay, so for mine, I have to. I'm gonna say mine is a little unfair. So, why I have him here? We talked about this because we weren't sure if we were gonna include him on this list or in the next week's episode. So I've got Mikal Bridges at number 7 or 6, 1, 2, 8. We are only on 8. I don't have these numbered. Bear with me. I'm not prepared today. So the reason I've got Mikal Bridges and the reason I'm saying it's pretty unfair is because he'd spent most of the season at the small forward spot for the Phoenix Suns. Correct? He played 56 games. When he was traded to Brooklyn, he played 27 games. So he played most of the season with the Phoenix Suns as a small forward. When he came to Brooklyn, they moved him to the shooting guard. He played 27 games there. That said, when you compare it, when he was on the Phoenix roster, he was only averaging 17 points per game. When he went to Brooklyn, he was averaging 26. So, yes, someone has to be able to score, and that Brooklyn team is that Brooklyn team, right? But we know this is the guy Mikal can be when he is given the usage that he deserves. So, as a season, he averaged 25 and 4 or 25 and 3 with 46, 38, 89 splits and a 17 PER. Defensively, we all know how great he is. He's one of those players that has that positional versatility to where he can guard your best player as long as he's not, Steph Curry or, I mean, I would even, he could probably hold Steph Curry, but the point I'm making is he wasn't that great at the small forward. That's why I have him lower on the list than you guys probably do. Because the time that he shined this season really was once he was moved to the 2, but he also did have a much, 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 much laughably higher usage rate, which I don't have right yet. It went from, his usage rate jumped 12%. So he was just getting more shots. Now he did hit those shots, so it's not like he was shooting inefficiently or anything like that. But as a small forward, he's right here in the middle of the pack for me.
That's fair. And I could see your justification for him as a 3 versus him as a 2. in terms of why you have him lower. I don't, but that's just me.
I think
My
I'm closer to the Rehn wagon. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, what did you say?
He's closer to you.
Hmm.
My number 8 is going to be MPJ. So you kind of hit it, Ren, when you put him at, I think 10 is what
Yeah.
you said MPJ
Yeah.
was. He didn't play a lot of games, and I didn't realize that. He only had 62, and he historically has not played that many games.
Like, yeah, he just
He's
came
been
off a
injury
major
plagued.
injury.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like he had 9 last year, like the year before. Didn't realize that. I always thought he was around.
No.
Anyways,
You probably
I mean,
thought he was around because I always used him in 2K.
That's fair. That's very fair. Anyways, I mean, 17 and a half, rounding up to 6, shooting 49% from the 2 overall, 42 from 3. It's solid numbers. Solid for a number 8.
Who do you
That's
have
it?
at 8? Yeah.
Okay, Franz Wagner. For a lot of the reasons that you guys have already listed, I seem like I'm like one step higher than most of you on some of these people. So
Don't worry, it's about to, like, the wrench is starting to get thrown. Just give it a
I
second.
know. The wrenches are coming. They're coming. But yeah, 19 points a game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and he had a 16 PER. And I agree with you. He benefits greatly from Paolo stepping up so soon. And really, because before Paolo, the attention was all on Franz.
Yeah.
Like, Franz was the only thing you had to worry about with the Magic.
And I mean, let's not, like, no disrespect to, like, Cole Anthony and
Oh, Anthony?
Markel Fultz. Like, Markel Fultz has had a great career turnaround. Let's not sleep on that. But Paulo's emergence really is what is helping that team
Yeah.
expedite the process.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, Franz, number 8.
Okay, so my number 7. When we were talking last night, this was my number 5. This is the one I was, like, disgusted at myself for putting at number 5. And I don't actually feel that bad about it now that I'm looking at it. So I have Bojan Bogdanovic here, Bogey.
Oh, man.
You either have him higher or not rated. And yes, he played for that Pistons team, and he's not the defender that he once was, because there was a time when this man was being tasked to guard LeBron James. You might not remember that, but he was doing a pretty good job of it. 22 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting damn near 50, 40, 90 with a 17.4 PER. Look, the game of basketball is won by efficient scoring. We say it all the time, right? We say this all the time. It's a game of runs.
You say it all the time.
It is, but it is. If you are efficiently shooting the basketball and your opponent is not, you're gonna win the game. And Bogey goes out and does that. So Bogdanovic is my number 7.
That is fair.
That is very fair. Like I said, I think I missed this assignment. My number 7, y'all are going to hate, is Keldon Johnson.
Why would I hate that?
Yeah, why would?
I'm sure he's probably higher on y'all's list.
Not as much as you'd think.
Not as much. Oh my god.
Um,
I'm gonna have Ron's list except one up. Oh god. Okay, go on.
Keldon Johnson, and this honestly comes from a little more of a personal bias. I know 22 is a great number, but he just seems forgettable to me.
Yep.
Well,
Same.
was
Agreed.
it was the thing Ren likes to talk about, the Spurs someone had to scoreism?
Yeah. No, Keldon Johnson was very forgettable. And
Yeah,
no
like-
disrespect, but yeah.
When I see his name on a starting list, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a guy in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like if you made me make this short list, I would be putting RJ, OG, MPJ above him because I don't remember him.
Keldon Johnson
disrespect.
was not even on my, like, short list when I started it.
Yeah,
It was not until, like, I started getting into the stats that he even made it on my list.
But
That's
I mean,
fair.
props to him. He dropped
Yeah.
22. Good job. 22, 5, and 3.
Yeah, no, it's
Good job, bro.
it's not that I think he's forgettable because he's playing on a team that was tanking.
Yeah.
And it wasn't fun to watch.
No.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with Wemby.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah, kind of.
So, go ahead, Angelo. Who's your number 7?
So anyway, my number 7 is Mikal Bridges.
Figure out who you all have higher.
Oh, you will see. Oh, you will
I'm
see.
wondering
I
if
definitely
Angelo and
forgot
I
someone.
have. I wonder if Angelo and I have the same list.
We do, I think. Oh, this is gonna be bad. But yeah,
Oh,
for
God.
all the ways you were saying, Mikal Bridges mostly a 3-and-D player on the Suns, as that's debatable if you want to call him second, third, or fourth option. Goes to the Nets, number 1 option. He's been performing well. He averaged 20 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists on a 17 PER. And depending on where he plays in Brooklyn, the majority of the season, whether it's the 2 or the 3, I think he is going to be on our top 10 list wherever he is next season as well.
Oh, for sure.
As being the guy who has to score on that team.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
And his defense is phenomenal. I don't know what.
Something and then stopped.
Yeah, I don't know what don't you know about
So
Mikal Bridges.
He's definitely going to probably play at the 2 next year. Given the fact that the Nets selected Noah Clowney, and who was the other one? Whitehead? They drafted a 4 and a 3.
Right.
They're in the middle of a rebuild. You don't draft players in a rebuild that you're not going to plan for. And those 2 picks, I remember I was very high on. I just can't remember if that's the right 2. Yes, it was.
So they drafted Clowney,
And
Whitehead, and then
Wilson.
a 3-4 Wilson at the end.
Yeah. But that doesn't matter. Those 2 are the important ones. So I think Mikal will definitely start at the 2, and I think that he will be on our top 10 twos next year for sure.
Yep. Nope, 100%.
So my number 6 is Keldon Johnson.
Oh no!
So I'm guessing Angelo's number 5 is Keldon Johnson. Just a little foreshadowing for there. Yeah, you hit it right on the head. Like, there's really not much more to add. The fact that he is top 6 is impressive, and I do think he belongs there. It's just I don't remember at any point in the season being like, "Huh, that was a great play by Johnson." It just
How many Spurs games did you watch?
Quite a few.
Really?
Quite a few. Yeah. Not deliberately, but like Spurs playing OKC. Yeah, I'm gonna flip that on. Like, sure.
Is this fair?
But I didn't deliberately go out and watch the Spurs, if that's what you're asking. But I did watch the Spurs play other teams. So yeah, just a quiet 22 points. Go ball out. Who's your 6?
My 6 is Franz Wagner.
Okay.
So I put him here. I think he's a better player than what both of you believe. Sure, we can credit some of it to Paulo, but I think, at least I'm hoping, especially because he's more of a hometown pick for me. I'm hoping that he continues
Floridian.
this. Yeah. Yeah, Floridian, that's not Miami, so it's good.
So go ahead, Angelo. Go ahead.
So anyway, my number 6 is Bojan Bogdanovic. Yeah, he played for the Pistons. Like, this is getting bad.
I don't think we're gonna have the same 5. I don't think you're gonna pick number 5 that I have at number 4.
I really hope not.
No. I would be shocked if you do, because yeah.
I really hope not. But yeah, 22 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 17 PER. He did great for the Pistons. Hopefully he continues it when Cade Cunningham comes back and, makes the big point guard a thing again that Rehn will have to despise while we're streaming 2K,
It's
and he gets
not.
bullied by 6'9" point guards.
These
Do it for us, Cade. Do it for all of us.
big point guards are getting injured a lot more frequently than small point guards. So I think I don't know. We'll see.
Do it for all of us, Cade.
So my number 5. I do not think we have the same number 5. I think you might have. I don't know if you actually already put this person or not. This was as of 10 minutes before we recorded this episode. He was my number 10, and he moved all the way up to number 5 for one reason. So OG Anunoby.
Thank
Listening.
God.
Okay, so we had different ones. So you hit the box score stats perfectly, and that's why I was saying I was kind of weirded out by putting him up here, because he doesn't have that impressive of a box score, correct? What
Yeah.
he does have is the defensive acumen. So OG Anunoby leads the league in the highest matchup difficulty rating, meaning every time he's on the court, he's in the 99th percentile for guarding the toughest player on the court. He has guarded.
I know who Rehn left off this list.
Did I leave someone? I'm looking.
I know what you did. Never mind. I see what's going on now. Okay, go on.
If you're gonna say Jimmy Butler, no, I've got Butler.
No,
But
it's not Jimmy Butler.
if you're gonna say Kawhi, it's not Kawhi. I'm looking at my list and I don't see who I'm forgetting. So unless there's someone that I didn't realize was a 4 or a 3, or it's someone that you put on here that's injured, that's
There's
also
one
a
person
possibility.
That's exactly what I'm about to look up. Go on, sorry.
If you haven't.
So he's in the 99th percentile for matchup difficulty. He's in the 98th percentile for steals per 75 possessions, and he's in the 93rd percentile for rim defensive field goal percentage versus expected.
I
These
cannot
are fun
believe you
advanced
missed
metrics.
this person. Okay, go on.
But he guarded the shooting guard 25%. He guarded the power forward 25%. He guarded the small forward 22%. He guarded the point guard 20%. And he guarded a center 10% of the time. This man has the defensive versatility to consistently go against the best matchup, whether that's Stephen Curry, Nikola Jokic. He was going to go on them. Yes, the box score leaves a lot to be desired, but his defensive profile by itself earns him a spot in the top 5 for me.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Oh, I'm tripping. I thought that was 4 for you. I am so tripping.
No, that was number 5.
Yeah. Okay, never mind. You didn't miss this player. All right, I'm just tripping.
I
Okay.
definitely missed someone. There's definitely someone I've missed.
I think I know who it is. It has to be number 4 on my list. All right, you're up.
Anyways, my number 5. I don't need to beat it with a stick. Bojan Bogdanovic.
So that was who was my number 5. We did have the same number 5 when we were talking about being disgusted at it. Interesting.
Yep. So I had Bojan, like you said. He was on a Pistons team that wasn't great. Get that. Still dropped 22, 4, and 3. On 48 and then 41.
Yeah.
He's playing good for being 33 years old, 34 years old. So I'm not mad at it.
Okay, Angelo, who is your finally we picked a different player pick?
So we're not there yet. So my number 5 is Keldon Johnson. Number 4 is where we get there.
Oh, right. Because you were picking one ahead of me. Okay.
Yeah. That's why I thought you missed 4, because I was like, anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, yes, Keldon Johnson, 22 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Not very efficient for the 22 points, 15 PERs, kind of but like I said, he did great on the Spurs. He was one of the bright spots on the Spurs with Vassell. I'm probably butchering this man's last name.
Oh,
But
right.
regardless, huh?
That was right.
Oh, I got it. I'm shocked. But anyway, yeah, Keldon Johnson, we've already talked about him 2 times. I'm not going to beat the dead horse. Go on with the obvious number 4, Rehn.
Okay, so number 4. So this actually wasn't that obvious to me. So my 4 and 3, if you
can be interchangeable.
Yeah. You can interchange them. And so for number 4, I went with Kawhi Leonard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So And maybe it's my biases against Kawhi that made me put him lower than my number 4. Because
Number
he
3.
did. I'm or number 3. I am an advanced stats person, right? I subscribe to the Church of Rapture, right? And
That's true.
so on paper, Kawhi Leonard is better than who I have at number 3.
Yes.
But the game isn't played on paper, unfortunately. And
What's Raptors say, Rehn? What's Raptors say between Kawhi Leonard and number 3, Rehn? I know number 3 is. What does it say?
oh, I don't know. I don't have it pulled up. I'm just saying in terms of PER. I'm saying in terms of PER. Kawhi had a 24, which is pretty dang good.
Which is better than number 3.
It is better than number 3, just barely though. But I will say number 3 did play more games.
Yes.
Availability is part of it, and as you're playing more games, averages typically do go down. So you don't know. But that said, 24 points, 6.5 rebounds, 4 assists, 50, 40, 87 shooting splits. Like we already said, 24 on the PER. Kawhi just didn't. I don't want to say it didn't feel like a normal Kawhi season, but it didn't feel like a normal Kawhi season. Maybe that was because he wasn't load managing the entire season. Or was he? He was. Never mind.
He was. So you can't even get his story straight. Is he low man? He's not cool man. Go on.
I feel like he shouldn't have been. I mean, he missed the All-Star game this year. Like, that's the first time?
He played over half the season.
Yeah.
Wow, he played half the season. How did that work for him? Did
he
they
played
win
over half the season.
Did they win the NBA Finals because load management helped him?
Yeah.
No, he didn't. So, yeah, Kawhi, number 4.
Austin made an oopsie.
Austin forgot number 3.
I didn't forget. I had him on my list, and then I had to redo it when we found the new list for keeping track.
Now I'm really interested to see who he's got.
Yeah, me too.
And it kind of tracks because I don't like this guy anyways, so he would have been lower. But I'm gonna put a slash in here.
Okay.
So my true 4, the one that
the addendum
would have put is Mikal Bridges.
Okay.
I have him at 4.
Wow.
I think it's the bias because of how well he played in the quote-unquote shooting guard position. And I'll be honest, I didn't delve that deep into it to see what his difference was between before and after. But I'm just going based off of how I think he'll be as a player in the future and how he did last year. So he's my 4. My 4.1, I guess you want to say, or 4B, is DeMar DeRozan.
There it is.
I had him on there. And you both know I despise DeMar DeRozan. So I'm not mad at myself for forgetting this.
and Austin.
Do with that what you will.
So Austin is now. We've gone full circle now. Rehn held the L in the centers. I had to take it for Cat in the power forwards, and now Austin, the crown is now yours. You now hold the L in the small forwards.
Like I said,
I have no idea who's winning this competition. We're even. Go on, sorry.
I do not mind missing DeMar DeRozan.
Holder of the L.
Holder of the L. You just said we're all even now, buddy.
No, but you're the current holder of the L.
Yeah, you are the current holder.
There's only one giant L, and we pass it around. Angelo, who do you have it for, Angelo?
I have DeMar DeRozan.
That's fair. That's fair.
He averaged 25 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists with a 21 PER. I think he was worthy. This is going to spoil because you already had Kawhi in your list. Kawhi is ahead of him for me because of Kawhi is a better defender generally when he's playing.
There's a huge caveat to that.
When he's playing. And I kind of like Kawhi a little bit better than DeMar. That's just personal bias.
Yeah, like I said, I think 3 and 4 as long as you follow the assignment. I think they were interchangeable. I don't have a problem putting DeMar at 4. I obviously have DeMar at 3. I just feel like while the box score of Kawhi looks more impressive, sort of, not really, but sort of,
It's
felt
close.
like when you were watching the Bulls this season, it felt like DeMar was taking over more games. And I think that this is the one time that I used the eye test over, well, no, a few times in this list, but DeMar's eye test just looked really good this year. Obviously, he's never going to be an elite shooter. He never has been. He never will be. But there's something to be said about someone that's not an elite shooter being able to get to the spots that DeMar's able to get to. And he does still have that old school midi. And, it's fun to see it. It's the most inefficient shot in basketball. I get that. But it's fun to see the pull up mid range. So I've got him at 3. We can move to Austin's 3.
Mr. Load Management himself.
The ends of these lists are interesting, like because we
Yeah.
get to a point to where we're all just talking about the same few players.
That's kind of how this work run.
Shut up. Well, it's like they're more boring here because like only one of us has to talk about them a lot, and then like the others just talk during that. So
I'm sure 2 and 1 will be interesting.
Oh, I'm gonna love 2 and 1.
So Kawhi, 24, 7 rounding up, 4 rounding up. He played okay. He played like a Kawhi game, but I have a personal vendetta against Kawhi too.
Then why is he so high? Why is he above DeMar DeRozan? Oh, because you hate DeMar DeRozan more. That's why.
And he also forgot DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah. I DeMar could be out of the league, and I would care less.
So the peek behind the curtain, I sent a list of players to Angelo and Austin that had all the relevant players. So that he forgot them tells me he doesn't read my notes for episodes.
I read the notes. I saw DeMar. I had DeMar originally. And then I was like, my brain was like, you know what? We know what we're doing. Don't put him on. That's why I was staring at my list. I was like, who am I missing? There's some player that should be here that's
was
not.
that like a sleep deprived moment, like where you're just like, you know what, I'm just gonna delete DeMar?
That was yesterday when we were talking.
Sleep deprived could have been me.
I know you don't drink alcohol of any kind, so it wasn't like a drunk delete and then forget about it. Like angrily just delete it, and then the next day, what did I do? Like, I don't know. Angelo, move along.
Kawhi 3. Moving on.
Number 3 is Kawhi for me. DeMar,
oh, yeah.
no.
Yeah.
It's number 3. Right. DeMar was 4. Kawhi Leonard, like I said, he averaged 24 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and a 24 PER. More efficient than DeMar, better defense for DeMar. The argument for DeMar, honestly, is you say the eye test, I say he's more available. But regardless, Kawhi, Mr. Load Management himself, I do believe belongs in the top 3. Number 2, Ren.
I don't wanna.
Number 2, Ren.
I don't wanna.
You can refer to any of the 50 names I've given him in the last 2 weeks. Number 2, Ren.
I don't wanna. Okay. Jimmy Butler.
Look how Angel's laughing that Butler's number 2.
So, Jimmy Butler did not have a great regular season. His PER is a little high, but
his PER is a little high. His PER is higher than anyone else's on the list that you're gonna have by at least 4.
Yeah. So he had 23 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists,
Oh, so I don't have to say that. Okay, perfect.
50, 35, 85.
Yeah.
The spot that the what put him at 2 for me. This is the first time I used the playoff performances as a rubric, because if I was only using regular season performances, he was my number 4. Because he just didn't have that great of a season. I need to go read more on stats, because 22 points just doesn't get it for me. You win basketball games by scoring. Obviously, I have made it known that the only reason the Miami Heat made it as far as they did in the playoffs was because of the role players playing above their floors and their ceilings. But that's not to take away from the fact that Jimmy Butler averaged 27 points in the playoffs. Regardless of how he got there or what he did, playoff Jimmy was a thing this year and last year. So he's deserving of being number 2 on my list based on his playoff performance. The regular season left a lot to be desired, regardless of what his PER says. He owes a lot to... Why does it show him as a power forward on Basketball Reference?
No, it doesn't. Does it?
It does. It does. In the playoffs. It shows him as a power forward. I was hoping I just got an out. And you can't. You know what? He's void. He's not allowed. It's not allowed. He was a power forward. He is the leader of that team, and again, the Heat went on a run at the right time. That's not to say Jimmy Butler did not play as playoff Jimmy, because he stayed true to that through the finals. His teammates, not so much. He was not going to single-handedly carry this team, and anyone that says Jimmy Butler carried this team did not watch the Miami Heat, because that's disrespectful to what those role players did. But he was the leader, both statistically and the vocal leader of that team. My problems with Jimmy are mostly in his personality. You haven't won anything yet. Why are you acting like you're Jordan? So, Jimmy Butler at a very deserving number 2.
Okay. I'm just going to say Jimmy Butler, number 2. Angela, who's your number 2?
My number 2, I am so happy to say, is Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
And Rehn just drank the rest of his alcohol. He averaged 30 points. You what?
I didn't.
Okay, you're waiting
Homie,
for it.
I've since we decided, like, when we talked during the playoffs about doing these rankings, when I marked down the episode list and I put the small forward on the calendar, I knew this was coming. Like, it didn't matter how the playoffs went. Nothing mattered. I knew Jimmy Butler was going to be your number 1.
It didn't matter how the playoffs went, he says. You are wrong.
No, it didn't.
You
You had Jimmy at number 1 no matter what. So
You are wrong. But Jason Tatum averaged 30 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists with a 24 PER, so a little bit inefficient on the 30, but he should have been a more heavily considered MVP candidate this season, and he led that Boston team. And did amazing.
Was before we get into the next one, was Jimmy Butler an MVP candidate?
No, Jimmy Butler was not an MVP candidate.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Jimmy Butler was not an MVP candidate.
I said as little as I could so you could get to your number 1, so you can make the case.
I know you want to get to Jimmy. Like, that's all you care about right now. So my number 1 is MVP candidate Jason Tatum. 39 and 5, 46, 35, 85, PER of 24. Like, you can talk about the collapse in the playoffs. That wasn't on him. Because he averaged 27 in the playoffs and he shot pretty okay. Worse than the regular season, but it's the playoffs. It's gritty, grindy. Jason Tatum is still a solid defender, even though he's going to go give you 25 every night.
That's fair.
At this point, I just want to hear what he says about Butler. Like, that's
Tatum number 1 for Austin. Go ahead, Angelo.
You gotta go ahead, Austin. Go ahead, Austin.
I mean, there's not much that he didn't say. And I will be honest, I debated for a minute of putting Butler above Tatum.
A minute, he said.
A minute, I say.
Because when you look at the PER.
Yes, PER, which, I've generally been using to guide my list. It's an insane PER. I give you that.
It is.
But you can't argue with 30 points, and you can't argue with, what was that? 10 more games. Tatum gave the Celtics 10 more games than Jimmy did in the regular season. So that's why Tatum solidified my top. And I think Tatum has a brighter future than Jimmy Butler ever would have had.
I like that.
That's a good one, Austin. That's a good one, Austin. So, Austin or Rehn, one of you two can answer this. Did I or did I not say that I changed my centers list based on the playoffs and had Nikola Jokic at number 1 from where he was at the end of the season from number 2, in my opinion? Yay or nay?
I think so. That sounds right.
I believe so.
I 100% said that. I know you tried to, whatever you want to classify as, be objective and just do the regular season. But at the end of the day, this is a list of the No Reserves podcast. Whatever personality you want, Angelo, Austin, or Rehn, top 10. Is it or is it not?
Correct.
Then I want you to name me a player that is more deserving of the No Reserve podcast MVP than Jimmy Butler. Because let me just say this.
Hold on, I have a question so I can start thinking.
Okay, go ahead.
Are we specifically talking about small forwards or overall players?
Small forwards in this case.
Oh, okay.
There is not. And just I was actually at one point going to ask you what you would do if Jason Tatum won a title and what you would do if Jimmy won a title. But honestly, I don't need to, because your reaction at number 2 to Jimmy says it all. Jimmy Butler, as far as the small forward list is concerned, is the MVP for No Reserves podcast.
Absolutely not.
Does Jason Tatum deserve number 1? Absolutely. I'm not even going to debate it. I'm not going to question it. Is Jimmy Butler number 1 and the best thing for this show? Yes, he is. Jimmy Butler is the MVP of No Reserves podcast, especially for the small forwards list. The hymning. Himmy buckets. The fact that I said at some point, I'm going to buy a Himmy Butler and if we ever go live stream, if I get that shirt, first shirt I'm going to wear. Guarantee it.
So let me stop you here. All right.
Yep,
I'm throwing up the big timeout sign. Right?
Timeout. TO.
Just to clarify, you think Jason Tatum should be number 1?
Yes. But he's not. He's not number 1. He's number 1 in the NBA. He is not number 1 to No Reserves Radio.
That's
Jimmy Butler
is number 1 in my heart, but not on
Yeah, that's a fair one.
He literally came up with his own rules so that he could justify putting Jimmy Butler at number 1. He literally
it is. Listen, I told you. Would you, at the end of the season, would you rather be Jimmy Butler or would you rather be Jason Tatum?
Okay, so
you'd rather be Jimmy Butler.
Hold on.
Let's be real. You'd rather be Jimmy Butler.
Real quick. Hold on.
You'd rather be Jimmy Butler.
I'm moving on to a new topic now because you just gave me a great idea. Let's do an all No Reserves Radio starting 5.
Oh,
point guard is Trae Young. Point guard is
Trae Young. Point guard is Trae Young.
Shooting guard. Who's the shooter? That's tough.
It's not Book. It's not
Clay. Decided next year or next week.
No. We can think of this here. We'll move to small forward. Small forward, Jimmy Butler.
Small forward, Jimmy Butler.
number at the 4. Who's number 4?
LeBron,
I don't think LeBron. I think like
KD,
as LeBron's gotten older. No.
I
As
think,
Kawhi.
Kawhi's a 3.
I guess that's true.
I think
You-
point guard is Ja.
It,
Shooting
Wait,
guard
can-
is Ja.
can you
We'll,
put Ja
we'll,
be-
miss
There we
match.
go.
We'll miss and match.
Because
We'll
it
miss.
has to be Trey. Trey has to be the point guard.
Trey has to be the point guard.
So
Yes.
Trey, Ja, Jimmy.
Is the 4 Giannis?
No one has a problem. Like, we don't argue over Giannis.
We don't argue over the 4 position.
That's because the 4 kind of sucks.
Who's our top 5? Hold on. Giannis, LeBron, Kevin Durant, Lauri Markkanen, Julius Randle. We don't argue over any of these players.
Yeah. The 4 is to be determined. The 5, that's the thing.
It's
The 5,
Jokic.
it could be
It's
Jokic
Jokic
or
or Embiid.
Embiid. It could
Yeah.
be Jokic or Embiid. We can argue which one's the 6th man. That's what we'll do.
Could we put one at the 4 and one at the 5? Jokic and Embiid are
know
the
what?
big.
Yeah, that's it. That's the no
That's it.
reserve starting 5.
That's it. Lock it in. We got.
Oh,
We're so small and so big. We got Trae Young. We got John Morant. We got Jimmy Butler. We got Joel Embiid, and we got Nikola Jokic. Let's go. Maybe reverse.
Who the hell is playing defense on that team?
Nobody.
I guess Joel.
He needs to be at the 5. I should have put Jokic at the 4.
Yeah, Jokic is a better 4.
4.
so I'm going
I'm
back
gonna-
to something Angelo said.
Sure.
Huh?
Angelo, you
Do
said
it.
that between Jimmy Butler and Jason Tatum, who would you rather have in the playoffs?
No. At the end of the year, who would you have rather been? Would you rather been Jason Tatum or would you rather have been Jimmy Butler? At the absolute end of the NBA season, right after the playoffs.
Okay. But let me ask: does it matter because they both lost?
Yes.
And neither of them won. So
Neither of them did win. But
does it matter? I
I'd
would
be-
rather be. So I
I'd
would
be
rather
more
be Jason.
salty. I'd be more salty if I was Tatum.
I would rather be Tatum because I'm gonna have more opportunities in the future.
Yeah.
I'm young and talented.
I mean, just
Sure,
overall,
in the future, but in that season, in that moment, at the
but
end of that season, I would rather be.
I would rather
Jimmy
be
Butler.
Tatum because unless the Heat make some kind of major change, which is possible, we have the Lillard rumors. That's
Fair.
Jimmy's last chance, right? And I'm not saying that like that was his best chance. He was an 8 seed. They made it all the way to the finals. That's the best chance. Because barring a major improvement, this team is an 8 seed.
So this brings me back to something else. Are you saying the No Reserves podcast, No Reserves Radio MVP is Trae Young?
I think it has to be Trey or Ja. I think we've spent more time talking about Trey and Ja per minute than we do about Jimmy. Because we only really talked about Jimmy during the playoffs because
That's fair.
so it has to be Trey or Ja.
That's fair. I'll give you that.
Honestly, it's probably Trey. And I'm really interested to see the point guard list.
The point guard list is going to end you.
That's why we started at 5 and worked our way down, because I think the point guard list is going to be... I think listeners get ready, because that's probably going to be like a 3-hour episode.
If I put Jimmy at 1, where would I put Trae Young?
I don't think you're going to have him on your list.
We'll see when I haven't started it yet.
You haven't?
Nope.
Oh. I start mine 2 weeks out, so like shooting guards are almost done because I started that while I was doing small forwards. How do you guys feel about your lists?
I love my list.
I'm fairly okay with mine.
My list is perfect.
Disgusting.
My list is perfect.
I don't think small forward. I think that as we were getting into talking and we were discussing it more, I think I was more okay with my list. Because outside of Bogey, like everyone there deserves to be. Like, I'm not saying Bogey doesn't deserve to be there because, as we discussed, he absolutely did. But he's the only one that I'm scratching my head at. Like, how is he there?
How did we get here?
Yeah. But besides that, like everyone else absolutely deserves it, especially DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, especially DeMar DeRozan, Austin.
Agree to disagree.
Oh God. What else you guys got? What do you want to talk about? We have a few minutes.
Oh, we got more than. Do you want? Do we just end it here and go into the after show, or what do you?
We didn't do an after show last week, even though we said we were going to because of who we are as people. So yeah, let's go ahead and
Cut it out.
cut it out here. Hey, thanks for listening. Tune in next week. We will be doing the shooting guards next week. Shooting guards is probably going to be the least problematic of the lists. I don't know. Power forward wasn't really problematic because there aren't problematic shooting guards, and there, as we just found out, we don't really debate the shooting guards. If you like the episode, go ahead and leave us a like, review, comment, subscribe, follow, all those things. We are on all social medias, including X. It is no longer going to be Twitter. We will.
Oh, we're staying on there? Okay.
I don't know what we're doing. Look, we'll talk about that on the after show. So tune in to the after show day after this episode releases. Thanks for listening. See y'all later.